For decades, China has been celebrated as one of the greatest economic success stories in history. Hundreds of millions of people have been lifted out of poverty. Chinese companies have expanded across the globe, and Chinese factories have become the workshop of the world. But has China's success become so great that it is preventing other countries from following the same path? Economists are asking this question more and more now. Has China's rise become a problem for developing countries? For much of modern history, becoming rich has usually followed a similar pattern. Countries industrialize, they build factories, they manufacture products, they export goods, their incomes rise, and that's exactly what happened in Britain during the Industrial Revolution. Later, it happened in Germany, in Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and eventually China. But many experts are beginning to wonder whether China has changed the rules of the game. To industrialize is to develop industries and manufacturing capabilities. To give you an example, South Korea industrialized rapidly during the second half of the 20th century. Manufacturing just refers to the process of producing goods in factories. China dominates global manufacturing in many sectors. If you hear developing country, that's a country with lower average income levels that is still growing economically. Examples would include parts of Africa, Latin America, and South Asia. China isn't simply another large economy. It's become a true global superpower, a country with enormous economic, military, technological, and political influence, a superpower. The United States has held that position for decades. Now China has increasingly challenged American dominance. Notice the present perfect here. China has increasingly challenged American dominance. We use the present perfect because the process started in the past and it continues today. A relevant phrasal verb here is to move up. That's to advance to a higher position, to move up. As an example, China has moved up the global economic rankings, to move up. The idea of a hegemon. This is one word frequently used by political scientists. Hegemon. That's a country that dominates the international system, if you like. The United States has often been described as the world's hegemon since the end of the Cold War. And China may be seeking a similar role. An article I'm looking at right now mentions something called public goods. Benefits that help many countries, not just one. Public goods can be safe shipping routes, international financial systems, or global health initiatives, or climate cooperation. These are often called public goods. Historically, powerful countries have often provided these services, and the question today is whether China is willing and able to do the same. For years, many poorer countries, they admired China's success. China showed that a developing nation could become wealthy through industrialization. But now some countries have become very concerned. Why? Because China may be too successful. There's an idiom here. We've used this before in previous podcast episodes. A double-edged sword. And it applies here, something that creates both advantages and disadvantages. China's economic growth has been a double-edged sword for developing countries. You see, China produces enormous quantities of steel, solar panels, electric vehicles, batteries, consumer electronics, machinery, and its factories are highly efficient. Its supply chains are incredibly sophisticated. By supply chain, we just mean the network involved in producing and delivering products. For example, the pandemic exposed weaknesses in global supply chains. When we talk about efficient or efficiency, this is producing results with minimal waste. For example, Chinese manufacturers have become extremely efficient. Now consider this sentence. China has been expanding its manufacturing capacity for decades. So we're saying has, have been, plus a verb, plus ing. This is the present perfect continuous. China has been expanding, ing, its manufacturing capacity for decades. This means the activity started in the past and it continues now. To give you other examples, you could say China has been investing heavily in infrastructure, or developing countries have been struggling to compete. Now, many poorer nations, they worry that Chinese products are simply too competitive. Imagine you are trying to build, say, a local manufacturing industry. You need factories, you need investments, and you need customers. But what happens when Chinese products are already cheaper? Many local companies find it difficult to compete. There's a phrasal verb that's very relevant here, to crowd out. This is to reduce opportunities for others. And some economists argue that Chinese exports are crowding out local manufacturers, to crowd out. Now, supporters of this argument, they point to history. When Britain, Europe, and later the United States industrialized, other countries eventually gained opportunities too. Technology spread, investment spread, manufacturing spread. Japan industrialized, then South Korea, then Taiwan, then China. And this ladder, remained available. Which brings us to an idiom that's often used in this argument. To pull up the ladder. This is to prevent others from following the same path that helped you succeed. And some critics claim China may unintentionally be pulling up the ladder before it. Of course, China strongly disagrees with many of these criticisms. Chinese leaders argue that competition is normal. Countries should improve productivity. China invests heavily in developing countries, and Chinese companies create jobs abroad. Infrastructure projects, they help economic development. And China frequently points to initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative, which has financed roads and railways, ports and power projects around the world. When we talk about infrastructure, we're just talking about the basic systems that allow an economy to function. Examples are roads, ports, railways, power grids or infrastructure, and internet networks. This debate is particularly important in Africa. Many African countries hope to industrialize in the coming decades, in the next few decades, the coming decades. But can they build factories if Chinese products dominate global markets? There's no simple answer to this. Some countries have attracted investment by specializing in specific sectors, and others have struggled to compete. A phrasal verb here is to break into, that's to enter a new market or industry. Several African nations are trying to break into manufacturing. And ultimately, this debate is about more than just economics. It's about power. It's about influence. And it's about what kind of world order will emerge during the 21st century. China has transformed the global economy. It's lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty. It has become a technological powerhouse. Yet its success has also raised difficult questions about whether future generations of developing countries will have the same opportunities. So you heard the word hegemon. That's a dominant global power. Industrialization is the development of manufacturing industries. Public goods are benefits shared by many countries. A supply chain is the network involved in producing and distributing goods. Infrastructure is essential physical systems like roads, power networks. Manufacturing capacity, this is the ability to produce goods. You might hear the factory is at full capacity, or we have capacity. It's the ability to produce goods. Productivity, that's the efficiency of production. Now we heard phrasal verbs. To move up, this is to advance. To crowd out. To reduce opportunities for others. Break into, to enter a new area or market. Some of the idioms, a couple of idioms, a double-edged sword, something with both positive and negative consequences. Pull up the ladder to prevent others from following the same path to success. And during this episode, we heard a lot of the present perfect. China has become a global superpower. It started in the past and it's still relevant now. China has transformed world trade. Developing countries have raised concerns. We heard the present perfect continuous. China has been expanding, ing, its manufacturing base. Economists have been debating this issue for years, and many countries have been searching, ing, on the verb, for new development models. So China's rise may be one of the most important stories of our time. The country has achieved extraordinary economic growth and has become a central player in global affairs. But as China continues to grow, the world faces a new question. Can a country become a superpower while still creating opportunities for others to rise alongside it? That debate has only just begun. Thank you for listening to Listen Global English. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow the podcast, share it with a friend who wants to improve their English through real-world topics. That's how we teach English here. And I've done this for the past 16 years here in Colombia. So until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep improving your English. Bye-bye for now.